This question is actually kind of rare as far as I can tell. They want us to know how text 1 would respond to text 2. Usually it's the other way around, but that's okay. We're just going to read these things in order and hopefully get some vague sense of what's going on, and then we'll deal with it once we get to the choices. Films and television shows commonly include a long list of credits naming the people involved in a production. Credit sequences may not be exciting, but they generally ensure that everyone's contributions are duly acknowledged. Because they are highly standardized, film and television credits are also valuable to anyone researching the careers of pioneering cast and crew members who have worked in the medium. Okay, so they're standardized, they're valuable for researchers, they do some other good things, so basically credits are good, is what I'm getting out of this. Let's see what 2 says. Video game scholars face a major challenge in the industry's failure to consistently credit the artist. So, okay, this is saying maybe, the problem is we don't have credits. Okay. Artists, designers, and other contributors involved in making video games. Without a reliable record of which people worked on which games, questions about the medium's development can be difficult to answer, and the accomplishments of all, but its best known innovators can be difficult to trace. Okay, it's a weird sentence. The accomplishments of all, but its best known innovators can be difficult to trace. Okay, so this is not... It's negative, but let's be clear about what's negative here. It's saying the lack of credits is bad. This is saying just generally credits themselves are good. So in a way, these are agreeing, right? They're both agreeing credits are good. Now, why? Because I guess, I don't know. Let's see. Actually, it seems like they're trying to figure out what's going on. So if they are researching a video game or researching a film, the credit helps. So I don't know. Let's just see what the choices say. A, by recommending that the scholars mentioned in text 2 consider employing the methods regularly used by film and television researchers. Okay, so maybe, right? Because if there's a problem, then doing that would be a success, right? As if you had credits, then it's problem solved, right? Like the scholars in 2 are unhappy because they can't research things. So if they just use credits, seems good. So I don't know. This seems good to me. Let's look at B. By pointing out that credits have a different intended purpose in film and television than in the medium addressed by the scholars mentioned in text 2. No, because first of all, text 1 never even mentions video games. So they don't have an opinion on that as far as we can tell. They're not saying like, oh, credits are good for movies, but don't you video game people use them? That would be bad. No, the point is credits are good in general because then you can know who worked on something. So to say that there's a difference between them, and maybe this is a comparison, but no, this is definitely wrong. They're doing the same thing in both cases. They're showing who worked on the thing. C, by suggesting that scholars mentioned in text 2 rely more heavily on credits as a source of information than film and television research. No, again, this is a great example of a comparison. Like they're not trying to say one is better or worse. It's just that, they use credits in film. They don't in video games. So maybe if they did, that would be good. There's all there is to it. It's not comparing the researchers of these two things. D, by observing that a widespread practice in film and television largely prevents the kind of problem faced by the scholars mentioned in text 2, right? So the widespread practice, that's a big, strong phrase there, widespread, but credits, are they widespread? Yeah. They commonly include long lists of credits. So we have evidence of that strong word. And what does it prevent? That's another strong word, the problem faced by the scholars. So what's the practice? The practice is credits. What's the problem that they face? Is not having a record, without a reliable record. So there's no record. So would having credits prevent the lack of a record? Yeah, because then that's the record. The credits are the record. So that seems pretty good too. So what do we do here? We have two choices that I think are good. There must be a difference between them, right? So this is where we kind of now start to pick it apart. What are the differences between them? Let's kind of switch our highlighter here. So in A, by recommending that the scholars mentioned in text 2 consider employing the methods regularly used by film and television researchers. Okay, so the scholars use the methods by the researchers. And D is that the practice in film and television, which we said is credits, prevents the kind of problem, which is the no record, faced by the scholars, right? So the scholars are the one facing the problem. Now, A is definitely a trap. I can already tell. The reason A is a trap is the scholars cannot employ the methods used by film and television researchers. So this is a good example of like when you see a phrase in a choice, turn it into a question, right? Like I did down here. What was the widespread practice? It's that they use credits. What was the problem they faced? That there's no record of the people in the video games, right? How would it prevent that problem because then the credits are the record, right? So notice how I took an answer choice and I turned it into 3 different questions. And the fact that I was able to confidently answer each of those questions using the text is a really good sign that that choice is right. Now, if I do that for A, we see the problem. Are they mentioning scholars in passage 2? Yes, definitely. Okay. What is the method regularly used by the film and television researchers? Okay, let's go back. Right? The credit sequences are highly standardized. Okay, here, they're valuable to anyone researching the careers because then they can see who's on the film, right? So the choice A is saying that the people in 2 should just use the credits that the researchers in text 1 are using. But the whole point is that the people in 2, the video game researchers, don't have credits. The method that the researchers in passage 1 are using is they are able to go and look at the credits. So in a way, choice A is kind of like not solving the problem. It's just telling them that, yes, you've got a problem here, right? So the scholars mentioned in text 2 who are researching video games cannot right now employ the methods used by film and television researchers because that method is looking at the credits and video games don't have credits. So the problem isn't one that the researchers need to solve. It's that the video game designers or whatever need to solve this problem by putting credits in the video game itself. The researchers can only respond to what they're given. They are not the ones responsible for the credits. They're just trying to research what's going on. They need the credits to do the research. It's the people who made the video game who should document who helped them make it, right? So notice that in choice D, they go about the wording in a different way that allows us to talk about it, like I'm saying, where the video game makers are the ones responsible, right? Observing that a widespread practice in film and television, right? In the use of credits in film and television, not by the researchers, just in making film and television, prevents the kind of problem faced by the scholars, right? The scholars are facing a problem because there isn't a practice in video game design of putting a credit sequence in place. Hopefully that makes sense. These are really tough choices. A and D are really close. And most people who get this wrong, I guarantee you would pick A because you probably decide very early on that that's the right answer. And then when you go through B, C, and D, you're mostly just like, I've already made up my mind. I'm kind of dismissing it. But I would absolutely, if this were a real test, get down to A and D and be like, ooh, these are really close. I need to think about this more deeply. And only through that deeper analysis do I realize that choice A has this trap involved. It's very sneaky, but that's how we avoid traps is we have to stay unbiased as we go through the entire set of choices so we don't eliminate things that are maybe right just because we've already kind of made up our mind about what we think the right answer is. You've got to be unbiased and treat everything equally. And then you might find that there are some traps early on that are meant to mess with you. So if you got this wrong because you picked A and you never even really considered D, what were you doing? You got to look at it. There's nothing wrong with D either. You got to analyze it and then deal with that problem yourself.